Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 3 replays in the British Tier 8 Tech Tree Tank Destroyer, the Charioteer. Now if you do like the video as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the Charioteer. It's a pretty solid British Tier 8 Tank Destroyer. And it's got this 105mm L7 gun, which has the really nice APCR rounds. It's got the great HESH rounds that the British tanks generally get, with the 210 pen, which means when you can use them against targets that you can pen, which you can pen quite a few vehicles at tier 8 with 210, those HESH rounds revolutionise how hard you hit people. It's very, very nice. The general gun handling on the vehicle isn't too bad. The mobility on the tank is good. The camo on the vehicle is also pretty good as well, meaning when you are using bush cover and concealment properly, you will be a very difficult tank to spot if you've got it set up correctly. And you can get to positions quite aggressively as well, having the nice top speed. You've got 10 degrees of gun depression, which is incredibly flexible on ridgeline, which is lovely as well. And generally, the Charioteer is just a joy to play as a tank destroyer. Always has been. Well, I say always has been. It was a tank destroyer that I really didn't like playing back when it used to have 5 degrees of gun depression, and that was a very, very long time ago. But then when they gave it 10 degrees of gun depression, it was like, oh yes, Charioteer, I love you. You're fantastic. And it's always been like that ever since. It's one of those old but gold favourites, you know, where you sit there going, yes, I just love the Charioteer. It is great fun. I say you've got a pretty consistent gun, you've got the great mobility, you've got the good camo, and you can just have a pretty great time while grinding your way towards the 4005. So, what got buffed on the Charioteer this patch? Because last patch, it did also get changed, and that was, and I wouldn't call it a buff, I'd call it a change, because the standard APCR shell went from 390 to 420, and they nerfed the reload ever so slightly for that. So what got buffed in this patch? Well, as you can see, the shot dispersion during movement and rotation got buffed from 0.26 to 0.24, and from 0.28 to 0.26 on the stock chassis. And the 20-pounder gun also got better in general as well. More accurate, better aim time, that good stuff. So it's just a generally nicer vehicle to grind while getting towards that top L7 105mm gun that is a thing of beauty for the vehicle. So yeah, that shot dispersion penalty during movement rotation is pretty nice for the Charioteer, and it means that the aim circle still blooms out quite a bit when you move the tank, but it's not as bad as it was. It's just one of those that, being a turreted tank destroyer, you just got to bear in mind that, yeah, if you start moving and stuff, you're not going to have the great dispersion that some of the medium tanks have, because you're a tank destroyer, not a medium tank. Even though this thing can play that gap between them, it can play as that stealthy tank destroyer quite easily, but it can also play as a medium tank as well. You just don't quite have the accuracy during movement and rotation. So, the Charioteer has a 52km/h top speed, a 20km/h reverse speed, 650 horsepower engine, which is 21.47 horsepower per ton ratio, which means you fly to that top speed pretty easily. It's not the fastest top speed in the universe, but it's also pretty not bad at all, really, at 52. You've got a 20% internal fire chance, which is on the top end of fire chances, and it generally does like getting set on fire if you get shot in the engine bay, so do be careful of that in your Charioteer. 36 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed is pretty decent as well. It does turn pretty quickly on its tracks, but naturally, being a turreted tank destroyer, it's got pretty slow turret traverse with a 25.03 degree a second turret rotation speed, which is, yeah, pretty slow indeed for this vehicle. 1.73 soft terrain, 0.96 on medium, and 0.86 on firm means that the terrain resistances are pretty good for the vehicle. 268 meters of still concealment with the build that we run, with 320 meters of on-the-move concealment. So your still concealment at 268 is pretty good, and if you're using bush cover correctly, you are quite a difficult tank to be able to spot. But as soon as you move the tank, you will have that worse camouflage during movement, meaning you're far easier to be able to spot. If you wanted to, because I run the ammo swapper on this vehicle, you could drop the ammo swapper for silent driving, or it's low noise exhaust, sorry, is what it's called now. Low noise exhaust, which is exactly the same as the old silent driving perk, which will reduce the effective movement on your camo by 55%, and that will knock the camo down during movement to 292 meters of on-the-move concealment, which is 30 meters better than it was. So that's a perfectly valid thing, but I just like having the ammo swapper to be able to use for the HESH rounds. You've got 452 meters of view range, which isn't the best view range in the universe. It's okay. It means you can spot for yourself at the 445 meter spotting cap, but it's just not the best view range in the universe. You've got 0.82 accuracy during rotation with a 3.74 accuracy during movement. So the accuracy during rotation is actually pretty good for a turreted tank destroyer like this. But the accuracy during movement is not very good at 3.74, and that means that the aim circle, as you can see, blooms out quite a bit when you move this vehicle, meaning you've got to sit and wait for this aim time to get going so you can get the gun fully aimed in and fire your shots, because it's got 0.34 accuracy at 100 meters, so when you are fully aimed in, it's on the more accurate end of gun handling, and generally it will hit the shots. But it takes 2.21 seconds to aim the gun in, and that can feel a little bit long at times with how big the aim circle does become on the Charioteer when you are moving this vehicle. Let's say you've got 10 degrees of gun depression, which is incredibly flexible on a ridgeline and is just lovely for the Charioteer. It means you can use so many different positions, which is glorious for the vehicle, meaning that, there's plenty of bush locations you can use on ridgelines as well in this tank to be able to maximise your camouflage. 9.49 second reload is 2.6k DPM, which is pretty decent for a tier 8 tank these days. 268 penetration on the standard APCR round, 210 pen on the premium HESH round, and 105mm of penetration on the standard HE round, which have 420 alpha on the APCR and 510 alpha on the HESH. And naturally being HE, it does more module damage as well. Well, it just tends to wreck everything inside the tank when it pens it. You got 1478 meters a second shell velocity on the standard APCR round, which means the shell velocity is fantastic. You don't have to give too much lead at distance to be able to hit your targets in the Charioteer. And the HESH round has 1,173 meters a second shell velocity. For HE, that is good velocity, but it is slower than the APCR, so bear that in mind that you have to give a little bit more lead at distance to be able to hit your targets with those HESH rounds. And yeah, generally the Charioteer is just a very, very well-rounded tank destroyer. It's just good at... It's like jack of all trades almost. It's got the good gun, it's got the good mobility, it's got the good camo. It doesn't do all of it absolutely exceptional in any area, but it just does it all good. And you can have a lot of fun with this vehicle for that, which is always nice. So, in this game here on Himmelsdorf, it's not the best map in the universe for a Charioteer, and we've basically not played that well, but we've managed to claw from that a really quite nice game. And we've managed to get some HESH rounds there into the Iron Rain, and we set the poor guy on fire, wait for the reload. Good night, Mr. Iron Rain. He caught me off guard, though, when he was crossing the A-line, because I thought, oh, he's going to spot it if he goes around down the A-line. I was waiting in ambush for him to come off the hill, but he clearly had already done it. We finished the game with 4 kills, 5.2k damage, the first class, the high caliber, with the 1916 basic XP. Really nice game there for the Charioteer on Himmelsdorf, which, like I say, we ended up making quite a few misplays there, but managed to get away with it, and then just troll along to a really nice game in the end. So what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment to get the sort of statistics that you've just heard about on the Charioteer? Well, I run Born Leader, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Camouflage Expertise, Green Thumb, Situational Awareness, Comms Expert, Radio Jamming, and Expert Gunner. Expert Gunner for the APCR rounds so that we have better penetration over distance, because it gets us closer to the standard pen at 268. We've got 260mm of penetration at 500 meters, so that's a lot nicer. Plus, we're increasing the chance of doing module damage with those APCR rounds by 6%. Now, that doesn't cover the HESH rounds because they're HE, so Expert Gunner doesn't affect those rounds, increasing your module damage, etc. with those rounds. Comms Expert and the radio jamming so that we stay unspotted for 7 seconds while also keeping people lit up for longer so that we have longer to be able to get our shells in to be able to keep getting shots into targets. Camouflage Expertise and Green Thumb naturally to get the camo better so that it's harder for us to get spotted, and also increasing our camouflage while in a bush as well. Situational Awareness just to make the view range better, because if you don't do that, you got quite low view range with that 452 being the best we've got so far, unless we were to run vents as well, or binocs. Binocs is also an option. Snapshot and Run and Gun to be able to get the best out of the gun handling, and then the advanced loader, optics, the camo, and the ammo swapper. Ammo swapper to be able to make the most of the difference between the APCR and the HESH, where I can load whichever round I want. The advanced concealment, just to get that camo down as low as possible while on the move, while stationary, or just to have the best camo I can get without having to sit and wait for, say, a camo net to activate. And then the advanced load to get the best out of the DPM, and optics again to get that 452 meters of view range so we can try and spot for ourselves. Again, this is a vehicle you could quite easily set up to be a bit stealthier, so you could end up, if you wanted to, just drop advanced concealment, drop optics and then go for the camo net and the binocs and then go set up in bush locations where you'll be able to spot for yourself fantastically with the binocs, and then also stay unspotted really easily as well because of the camo net and how nice that will make your camouflage. There's also, instead of running the ammo swapper like I do to use the Hesh and the APCR, you could drop that ammo swapper, like I said earlier, for the low noise exhaust, so that it makes your on the move camo way better. Or you could run the flash hider instead, so that when you're using these bush cover areas, it's harder to get spotted when firing, because it reduces the effect of firing on your camo by 35%, like the old school muffled shot, because that's what it is now, it's old school. But like muffled shot used to do. So there's plenty of different ways you can set up in terms of the equipment for sure. So we're here in this game on the second map, and that is we're on Komarin, which we're seeing all the time at the minute, naturally, because it's the returned map. And we're up to 2,000 damage so far. We're in our nice little snipey location, just waiting for people to get spotted so we can keep the damage flowing. We're trying to stay in a position where we're nice and covered, so we've got the best concealment we can possibly get, because it's 12-9 currently, which means that we are winning, but, you know, there's 55%, 43%, things can snowball very, very quickly. We managed to get a couple of shots into this Conqueror while he was unspotted, but sadly we end up bouncing off the side of his turret, and he gets finished off by the IS Desmond Tutu. So with 8 tanks left on the enemy team, we know where the Tortoise is, we know where the light tank is, and pretty much from the positioning of our team, we know where the rest of their team is. They're all in that corner around the 1 line. So we need to close in, get rid of Mr. Tortoise, not drive into rocks, you absolute buffoon. Take some driving lessons, my goodness me. Anyway, we get into position to shoot this CS-59. Now, every time they're going to start getting spotted on that line, they're going to start getting absolutely wrecked, because they are in the gun line of my whole team. We aim up at the machine gun port on the Tortoise, putting the shot straight through there to put us up to 3.6k damage. We're starting to take hits from the back of the map, so we load the Hesh rounds, fire it into the SFAT 105 for 530 alpha, which is, again, that's why we load those Hesh rounds, because they are beautiful for that kind of shot. Just waiting on the reload to put the shot into the SFAT 105, but he gets himself safe behind cover. So we load the APCR round so we can try and get the kill on Mr. Tortoise. And naturally, just as we pull the trigger, he moves. That's one of those where you pull the trigger, go, aha, I have you now. And then they move so that the shell ricocheted off his back, because, yeah, that's where we were aiming. That shot there ends up hitting the ridgeline. We aimed a little bit too low in the end there, and that meant we hit the ridgeline. But now we're loaded for this XM66F. I was going to fire Hesh at him, but I thought, nah, no, we're more guaranteed the pen with the APCR. Let's just go with the guaranteed pen. Putting us onto 4.5k damage. The mutts get spotted, so we put the guaranteed pen APCR straight through him again, because with the side, there's a likelihood the Hesh could just get absorbed by his spaced arm. I didn't want that. Now we have the Hesh loaded, and it hits the spaced arm with the SFAT 105, and I should have just loaded the APCR to pick up the kill there, but hey-ho, it is what it is. We finished the game with the victory, 0 kills, 5.1k damage, with the second class, the Confederate, the high caliber, 1614 base XP. A pretty nice game there for the Charioteer in a tier 9 matchup. Just showing off what the Charioteer is capable of. Again, you see the gun handling sometimes, it can be a bit derpy at times, but generally it's pretty consistent when you get it going. The Alpha's nice, 420's a little bit nicer than the 390, just because you see some slightly higher rolls. You got the Hesh rounds that can be beautiful, but at the same time a bit troll when they hit random bits of spaced armor and just go, yeah, I could pen that. Or I could just splash. And you sit there going, thanks, gun! That's really nice of you! Great! Wonderful! That was a wasted opportunity. You know, it was one of those. So we're on to the third and final replay of this video, and we're going to have a pretty nice game here on Overlord. And what I want to do on Overlord is go to this middle position at E6, F6 in that general area, because I can use the 10 degrees of gun depression the Charioteer's got to try and shoot at people across the BC line. And I can try and spot them out as well. It's going to be a bit more difficult these days in the Charioteer to spot them as they come out of the BC line, because naturally I have only 452 meters of view range, but we can try and do that. The T-32 ends up catching us with his view range though, because we were on the move there, we didn't have the best camo. In that position, if we'd actually not been moving, we'd have been able to actually spot the T-32 and not get spotted ourselves, but because again, when you move, your still concealment gets worse. You might think you have 268 meters of concealment, but actually because you were moving, it's even worse, and it's down to that 320 meters of on the move concealment that we have on this vehicle, which makes you far easier to spot. So sometimes, well, especially when you take up position behind bushes and stuff, you need to stay still, because you see it quite often where people just keep moving backwards and forwards when they're behind a bush, and that just makes your camo worse. The only tank that you can really do that in is a light tank, because, you know, the light tanks have that as a class speciality, where they have the same on the move concealment as they do still concealment. So we managed to get a nice hesh round there through the Iron Rain, just trying to find the next shot in, put the shot in, and I got spotted, which made me go, oh boy, don't do it. Thankfully, he hit our outside track without hitting where the actual tank was, so he tracked us only. The second shot missed, so we're quite fortunate there that we didn't lose any hit points to that Iron Rain. The Duster's coming in, which is bad. I can two-shot the Duster, but he's going to take quite a bit of my hit points. So we just are trying to keep the gun on target so I can get rid of this guy. We load the APCR round because we can guarantee the kill, but then he gets shut down by the AT-15 that was behind me. But yeah, again, he took out quite a bit of my hit points, because a Duster's one of those, it's not the greatest tank in the universe, but if it catches a tank like this out, where it's pure paper and it's easy for that thing to pen, just because the relentless rate of fire that it's got, you end up just losing quite a few hit points. So we're just looking for the shot into the side of the Centurion, and we all got unfortunate that we aimed at the back end of the Centurion when he was coming back around that corner on the rock, and we hit his back end just as he stopped, because why not? So we ended up not penning him. The second shot ended up bouncing. Thankfully, he missed us. We get another shot into his side, though. This time, it penned him, but we low-rolled, which meant that he's still alive. But I switched to the Hesh rounds. Why? Because HE splashes, and with 4 hit points, I just had to hit him with the HE round, and as long as I didn't hit the gun, I was going to kill him. And that's exactly what we did. They've got something in the cap, which I'm pretty sure is a T-32 from earlier on that we spotted before. Our team is starting to come up off of the beach, so I'm just trying to look around this corner without having to go down after the T-32. I mean, we've got 2 minutes before we truly have to worry, but I don't really want to leave whatever it is alive in the cap area. So we go down. We end up finding him behind this rock. I didn't think he was going to be behind this rock, but he is. We fired Hesh at him, RBRT. Bad move. Should have fired APCR. That was a bad decision, because that meant that we didn't end up tracking him. He's getting himself back around the rock, but he's driving in front of my team. I end up thinking, okay, I'm going to chase him. Bad move again, because that meant that he ended up backing off. I thought he was just going to keep driving around the rock, but he ended up backing up, meaning he got a shot into us. He's now getting shot by our team, set on fire, and finished off by the Cheeto SP. That was a whole circle of just badness there, really, to be honest, but we managed to get away with it. We're up to 2.9k damage with the kill. There's 6 tanks left on the enemy team. We are winning, but look at the HP. 35% to 31%. Even though we're 3 tanks up, we're very, very close on HP, which means this, again, this is one of those games that could swing very, very easily. So what we want to do is go help this AT-15. Go see if there's anything up here along the 9-0 line, and then we can clear out that and go after the guys that we know where they are currently at BC9. So I'm going to take into the bowl. You can see when I'm maneuvering through this bowl area, I was keeping it so that there was a rock in front of me. So if I got spotted from the right, I could try and get to the rock and stay safe. Or if there's anything on the left, again, I could use the rock and stay safe. So we're going to use the 10 degrees gun depression, poke over, see if we light anything up along here. And there we go, we find the M4043. We fire Hessian for 501, putting him down to a one-shot 4-hour Hesh round when we get it loaded. Just waiting here to be able to fire the shot in. And we finish off the artillery there with the Hesh shot. We're up to 3.9k damage. We want to get rid of this Black Diamond if we could, but unfortunately he just gets himself unspotted. I pop a blind fire in the area he was, because you never know if he just stayed there. But unfortunately, yeah, no kill for us. We end up finding the Squall, which is quite fortunate there that he didn't spot us, because it's one of those where we were on the move. We probably should have spotted each other. But we put the Hesh round through the Squall, which was, unless we high-rolled the APCR, it was the only way we were going to guaranteed kill him was pen the Hesh round, and that's what happened to finish that dude off. The Black Diamond gets spotted, and we fire the Hesh round at the Black Diamond. We should have definitely kept the APCR loaded, but also we ended up splashing him for 95, leaving him on a slither of hit points, which, yeah, pure pain. One of those where I thought he was going to keep driving forward, and he just stopped dead perfectly. Again. And you sit there going, come on, really? So we get a Hesh round through the side of the T28 there for 511. I'm just going to see if he's still there. Again, I could have fired the Hesh. I should fire the Hesh round, really, to be able to splash him to death. The other T28 was actually giving me a shot, and I thought, oh, well, I'll try and get the Hesh round into the T28 if that other one is actually staying behind the building. But with the T28 prot actually driving out that we put down to a splashable one-shot, we end up just finishing him off. We're up to 5k damage nearly, 271 assistance. We find the M12. So with the M12, well, we know where the M12 is now, which is good, but we know where the T28 prot is. We need to go after the T28 prot and get rid of that dude, because naturally he's the one with the gun. He could pick off people like Mr. Panther over there, who just got picked off. He could also end up finishing me off. Sadly, the shot flies straight over the T28 prot there, which is really unfortunate. But we're just going to use the Tender's gun depression, see if we can find it. I think, you know what? Goodbye, house. Let's destroy his cover. He's now stuck in the open with absolutely no cover, so we're just waiting on the reload. If we can get the shot through the side of his turret, glorious, which we do, to finish off that T28 prot there, securing our 5th kill of this game for 5.2k damage, 889 assistance. And there's one tank left, which is the M12, which again, we know where the M12 was. He was somewhere along this A line, and I thought, he can't have got far, right? Because I should have probably spotted him if he was going towards that dude. There he is. We put the shot in with the Hesh round for 540. He's turning towards us, so we should reload the APCR round by now, by the way, so that we're guaranteed the kill. With him now turning the other way, we can just drive in and finish him off with a splash from the Hesh round. Again, probably should have loaded the APCR round just to make sure, but hey-ho. And we shut down that M12 there with the victory. 6 kills, 5.7k damage, 899 assistance damage. The ace tanker Demetrius, the high caliber, the top gun, with the 2.3k base XP. A fantastic game there for the Charioteer, which, let's say, it's a fantastic tier 8 tech tree tank destroyer. It just is always, and always has been really solid to play. And it's had some little buffs to make the grind a little bit easier, as well as having the 420 alpha from the previous patch. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!